Welcome to Ascend and Awaken, a life of balance. Today we explore one of the most enduring teachings in the history of human thought, the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates and his timeless call to know yourself. He believed that self-knowledge wasn't just important, it was the foundation of a meaningful, awakened life. And he taught something profoundly brave. The greatest courage is to know yourself. Let's explore why. Socrates never wrote a single word. Everything we know about him comes from those who followed him, especially Plato. But what makes Socrates unforgettable is not his historical presence. It's the inner revolution he ignited. Socrates asked questions that cut through illusions. He challenged beliefs, assumptions, and deeply held opinions. Not to embarrass people, but to awaken them, to help them discover the quiet truth within themselves. The words, "Know thyself," were engraved at the Temple of Apollo in Delphi. Socrates made them the center of his philosophy. But what did he mean? To Socrates, knowing yourself meant understanding your deepest motivations, seeing your habits and patterns clearly, recognizing your fears, examining your beliefs, and discovering what truly matters to your soul. This wasn't intellectual knowledge. It was inner knowledge. It was the courage to look honestly within. Knowing yourself is not easy, because when you look inward, you see everything: your strengths, your gifts, your beauty, but also your insecurities, your shadows, your defenses, your contradictions. Most people avoid this. We distract ourselves, run from discomfort, or pretend we already know who we are. Socrates said that true wisdom begins with the humility to admit, "I do not know." This simple sentence is one of the bravest you can speak. It opens the door to clarity and transformation. Socrates often walked the streets of Athens asking questions like, "Why do you believe that? What leads you to that conclusion? Is that truly what you value? What is the good life according to you?" Most people had never examined their thoughts so deeply. This is the Socratic method, questioning not to argue, but to awaken. To Socrates, unexamined beliefs are like chains. The moment you begin to question them, you begin to free yourself. And this freedom requires courage, because you must face your own truth. The ego does not want you to know yourself, because self-knowledge dissolves illusions. Socrates understood this long before modern psychology. He knew the ego thrives in pretending, defensiveness, projection, blame, external validation. But when you turn inward, quietly, honestly, the ego begins to soften. Self-awareness breaks the spell. And the truth that emerges is simple and liberating. You don't need to defend or pretend. You only need to be awake. One of Socrates' most famous teachings is this: "I know that I know nothing." This wasn't false humility. It was spiritual clarity. He realized that the world is vast, life is complex, and the human heart is infinitely deep. By acknowledging how much he didn't know, Socrates remained open, curious, flexible, and humble. And humility, he taught, is the beginning of wisdom. When you know yourself, you begin to live with intention rather than habit, with clarity rather than confusion, with alignment rather than contradiction. You begin to ask, what truly matters to me? What do I value? What brings me alive? What drains me? What kind of soul do I want to cultivate? Self-knowledge becomes a compass, guiding your choices, your relationships, and your purpose. Socrates believed a well-examined life leads naturally to a life of virtue, not because you're forced into goodness, but because you finally understand who you are and what aligns with your true nature. Socrates' teachings may be ancient, but they are perfectly suited to modern life. You can practice his wisdom by asking yourself, 1. What am I feeling right now? Why did I react that way? 3. What value am I honoring or ignoring? What fear might be shaping my choices? 5. Does this align with the person I truly want to be? These questions gently peel back the layers. They help you see clearly. They help you live consciously. And little by little, you become more authentic, more peaceful, and more present. In a world that constantly pulls us outward, toward achievement, approval, distraction, and noise, turning inward is an act of bravery. It's easier to criticize others than to examine ourselves. It's easier to react than reflect. It's easier to follow the crowd than to stand firmly in your inner truth. This is why knowing yourself is the greatest courage. Because self-knowledge is the foundation of peace, wisdom, integrity, purpose, and spiritual awakening. When you know yourself, you become unshakable. Socrates taught that the examined life is the only life worth living, not because it makes you perfect, but because it makes you real. True courage is not conquering the world. It's about understanding your own heart. True knowledge is not memorizing facts. It's an awakening to your inner truth. And true wisdom is not found outside, but within your own awareness. Thank you for joining me for this reflection on the wisdom of Socrates. Why knowing yourself is the greatest courage. If this message resonates, I invite you to subscribe to Ascend and Awaken, a life of balance. And in the comments, share one thing you've recently discovered about yourself on your own journey of self-awareness. Peace, love, and light to you on your continual spiritual journey.